I do welcome the idea that there are other perspectives, and sometimes I don't see them. What was cute about Joyna recently, we were around the mastermind table, and I don't remember. It was an off week in which we didn't have one person in the spotlight, and that was down to me because I just didn't get my act together and get somebody. But so we kind of went around the table a little bit, but we landed on me at the end. I got my ass handed to me.
Nice. Where was I? Jeez.
After it was all over, she came into my office and she's like, I feel like I should give you a hug right now. She's like, you were getting pretty beat up in there. And I know it came from a good place from everybody, but it did feel a little bit like I was being.
Next time there's a Danielle blanket party, I want an invitation.
It was, but I think that's what's great about those groups too, is because there's accountability. There's no, it's not like everybody's harsh, but there are perspectives that you have to look at, and everybody's got a different one. And around here, there's a lot of people who are creating new businesses or successful in their, already created businesses, and they have valuable information. So you put yourself at the table, you open yourself up to, and I'm never going to say it's criticism because I've never felt anybody be criticized at that table. But naturally, for me, at least, sometime when somebody gives me some sort of information that I didn't consider before, I personally take that as a criticism, not from them, but from like, oh shit, like how come you didn't think about that on your own? So that's just work I have to do on myself, right? But in any case, you should join us.
I know.
Phil.
Yes.
What time is it? Is it time to wrap this thing up? Oh my gosh.
We're at an hour and a minute.
Okay. What? So life coaching status here. So what is one of your biggest takeaways from today?
Oh,
Phil.
No, I'm just the guy recording.
Go back through your brain. Actually, the biggest takeaway, there were a lot of takeaways, but I appreciate what you just told us about Tony Robbins and his childhood, because I do have this perspective of him that's a little bit, I feel annoyed by him. And just even hearing, it kind of brings us back to the beginning when we were talking about our childhoods, right? Like we're made up of all of our experiences. And I personally am super proud of who I am. And it's based because I've had a lot of great experiences, but difficult experiences as well. And I appreciate that you gave me a perspective of him that was like, oh, he's more than just like this super high energy person that like you become exhausted from listening to after a little, and there's more to him than that. So all of the takeaways that I would say that
we should get him on.
Tony Robbins.
T-Rob.
If you're listening,
we'd like to have you.
If you're one of our 60 listeners, we would love to have you here at Keller Street.
We'll have a wine glass for you.
Yeah,
but I mean, that's a good point too, is that, there's so much information coming at us, or maybe not enough. So we quickly jump to these generalizations of other people. Like Tony Robbins, I'm like, why is he this way? But when you find out more, you're like, oh, wait a minute.
So the question is, how, and this could be like your assignment for the next week. How can you use Tony Robbins as that reference when you're talking about NLP, because he is the name that everybody's going to know, and add a little bit to the sound bite that uncovers that he's more than just that
impression,
super high energy impression that people see from afar that maybe they don't appreciate. That's your assignment.
That or perhaps that's not hiding behind Tony Robbins.
That's your deal too, man. That's like saying,
well, I
like a particular jazz musician, but not another.
But I felt comfortable bringing that up because I've heard that particular, like on that particular person, that same reaction from more than half the people that I mentioned. If you walk in a room, if you walk outside these doors right now and you say Tony Robbins, how do you feel? I would venture to say that at least 50% of the people will like curl up their lip and go, ooh, he kind of bugs me.
That motherfucker's intense and he's trying to sell me something.
Yes, the sell me something thing is
So I kind of wonder if it's actually for NLP and for me as a coach, maybe not hiding behind this big name of Tony Robbins, but figuring out a whole new way to explain it.
Or maybe a combination.
Hey,
maybe find another person that's less polarizing that is maybe recognizable. And I think it's a two-part. Like I do think that there is value in having somebody to reference. Oh, okay. Because it does legitimize, even though it's sad that has to happen, legitimize to people who don't understand what NLP coaching is, a little bit of what your work is. But in tandem with that, maybe there's a sound bite that you can come up with that, it's kind of goes back to that, whatever, 30-second elevator pitch type of thing, right?
Yeah.
Which is harder to do than you think.
Not to be the contrarian, but that's kind of my nature.
Please do.
No, but with Tony Robbins too, and I think that a lot of people would find him irritating, but there's certain undeniable things, and one, that he's successful, and two, that his success is built on motivating others. That
Motivating huge amounts of people.
Right.
Yeah.
In other words, there's something to it.
Well,
As
obviously,
annoying
there's
as he
something
is, there's something to it.
It's true. You're right.
Mm-hmm.
You're right.
And I've known a couple people. Myself, I've never really entered into any of his programs or listened to anything, but I've known a couple people that have kind of grudgingly, it was almost like a confession. Well, I've been doing Tony Robbins tape series on whatever. It shows you how long it's been. But
because you said tapes.
Yeah, I said tapes. I said tapes.
It's true.
Yeah, and they, to a person, they've always got something out of it. So,
well, I'm going to wrap this podcast up.
All right.
Really awkward
Wrap it
transition here.
Just chop
but
it.
Ooh, I like it.
First, I'm going to do a plug for Keller Street. I'm going to
Keller Street
say,
what?
Keller Street Co-work. We've got some super cool events happening. So I would just highly recommend to people to watch our website, to go to the events page, see we've got Sip Petaluma coming up. Oh my gosh. 15 wineries from the Petaluma Gap coming in to pour music, art, some food, beautiful catering company coming in. So that's an event that's coming up on March 2nd. We've got movie night here tonight,
I'm so
which
excited.
by the time this goes out is probably going to be over, but I cannot wait. Our cook-off, like a lot of cool
Bake
shit
off.
happening
we got
here.
to check
Our
in on movie
bake-off.
night too.
Yeah, we'll
Next
talk
time,
about movie night. And then a final plug for what we're doing here in the podcast. Like, I love this because I never actually fill in. I don't fill them in often, but we're going to split this podcast out a little bit, and we're gonna because we've been a little silly and goofy and like fucking off a little bit in some of our podcasts, which is super fun. And really, for me, it's just exciting because I wake up that day and I'm like, oh, I could screw off and everybody can listen.
Right. Well, we're figuring it out.
Yeah, we're figuring it out. So we're going to split out. We're going to do some Keller Street, like ones like today where we've got some cool peeps in here that share the space and hear a little bit about what they're doing. And then we're going to do another separate one where it's just he and I screwing off, basically,
Nice.
All
and
the
talking about
dirty potty talk.
potty talk.
Oh,
We're
so
gonna
it's
talk about
late night business.
it's the
as
late,
usual.
yeah,
The
it's
after
like,
hours.
yeah. And what are we going to call it? Do we nail?
We
do
should call
like,
it after unusual.
past
or like
unusual.
Very.
We still. It's funny. Do you have any input on what the name of it
really.
should be?
Well, I always
we've
like-
just been recording and we haven't even put them out there yet because we haven't had a name. for
Ironically, you opened today with "I'm not gonna lie." Which,
so I think that's where like what we're circling around the title. I'm not gonna lie. We've realized as we've gone back and listened to all of the episodes, there's at least 3 occasions
It's a
in
tick for
every
you.
episode.
I
in
think
which
that's very
say,
interesting.
I'm not gonna lie.
Because if you say that, then
Right.
that's the intention for that podcast is you are only going to speak the truth.
And I love to
right?
do that.
It's a little racy. Isn't
What's
it?
interesting is that
I
not
think it-
everybody,
No matter
See,
what question is
right?
asked.
And I think it connotates uncomfortable truth.
Yeah.
Right?
which I'm very good at throwing out there. I've been hesitant because I want my
Oh my
Keller
God, you
Street
say
guests
way
to
too
feel.
much.
I am definitely an oversharer. I mean, I've got friends who are like, "Can you put a filter on it, please?" But that's not who I am.
Oh my God!
That's the
If
thing. I'm
people
not
could hear
that,
the stuff
that
we've
person.
cut out.
I'm not that person. And so I figured if I'm going to be, really focusing on Keller Street and they're going to get some value out of it, I can totally do that in 45 minutes plus
A few.
Yeah,
plus 45.
right.
And
We
then,
didn't even get
then
into
we can
bartenders.
just, I know. Well, that's for the other podcast.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
But, for next week, having my dad on the hot seat,
Oh, I'm
you guys are going to
excited.
have so much fun to be like, what are the similarities? What are the traits that Joyna got from her dad?
Aside
That
from
is
the fact that they
interesting.
look exactly alike.
Oh, that's creepy.
What are the differences? What are the evolutions? It's
Yes.
going to be a lot of fun.
He's a hoot. But I
Yes.
will say, I love him individually and I love you individually. But the two of you together are like, talk about magic sauce. Like,
Right.
they're just so cool together. So maybe one time we'll circle back.
Girls
and
and
get
their
the whole thing on
dads
there.
and boys and their moms, right?
Well, not necessarily. There was a
know.
time where I wouldn't talk to him for months
Right.
because I was
didn't
pissed.
talk to my dad for 25 years.
Oh.
And now I only talk to him once every 7.
Progress.
Right.
So, Joyna, thank you so much for being here.
Thanks.
I hope
feel
this
like we
was
could keep
fun
going,
for
but
you.
all right.
We
Yeah,
totally
totally.
can. We
Totally.
totally
Okay,
can.
ending now.
Now.
Is it over?
Oh, put the music on.
Theme.
But that's
Finito.
the beginning music.
Oh, we need some
It's
ending
okay.
music.
We'll make it work.
From Keller Street
There it is.
Co-work, it's
Where are we
Business
from?
as
That's the beginning.
Unusual with your host,
Oh, that's me.
That's you.
So good.
Maybe we should do an ending with just that music.
I know we need it.
All right.
Oh, just the music,
Yes. Just the
but without the guy.
boom, boom stuff.
Okay, I can do that.
All right.
Ben,
We're out.
You got your homework.